Welcome to Lorehammer, episode 41, the Dark Mechanicum.
Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. My name is Eric.
Hey there, I'm Mark.
This is Jordan.
And joining us today is Colyn.
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I'm back.
Good, yes. Back. The last episode you were on was... I don't know, what was it?
I don't even know, man.
It was a while.
It was when we were talking about the favorite Xenos hunters in the Astartes.
Oh yes, the Death Watch episode.
Yes.
I recall now.
That was a while ago then.
Handful of episodes.
And now
It's almost like he's not even a friend.
Oh.
Like he can't even make time for us.
Is that the problem?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I had to make time for this episode, though, because
Specifically.
it's a topic very close to my dark heart.
Now, you did read it as Dark Mechanicus episode and not just a Mechanicus episode, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you did catch that first.
I did.
Because there is a big difference between the two.
There is. Some might say one of the largest differences inside the Imperium. So
Is that... Actually, all you did is you just ignored the word dark and you were like, oh, it's just talking about all the guys who wear dark colors and dark robes.
That's right.
That's all it is.
Yeah, so I could talk about Styges, all the great Forge worlds, but no. So what are we talking about today?
Well, today we are talking about the Dark Mechanicum, which services the not Imperium humans.
Yes.
Right?
The heretics.
Yes.
Right, okay.
I feel like you don't know what you're talking about the way you were saying
I never
that.
do, but I lost my place on the
Like
page.
this is a 40K podcast about the war. That's how you were talking.
When the Voyager goes into deep space,
no, that's
they
Star
find
Trek.
a Stargate,
Oh,
and
God.
then they Leviosa their way through it.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Now, is that before or after Skynet awakens?
Yeah.
And then the
it's before Skynet awakens, but during the attack of the clones.
Now I really don't think you guys know what you're talking about.
is that before the Looper shows up?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Interestingly enough, about time travel
Yeah.
is that it creates infinite dimensions, and Superman is in all of them.
But that's also where you get the cyborg Superman,
Right,
who's
of
also
course.
in Ex
Of course.
Machina,
naturally.
which Machina is like Mechanicus, which brings us full circle.
Back to 40K, everyone. Thanks for staying with us. We're glad you're here.
You lost me.
Nice.
I only know about two topics in this world, and that's 40K and women. I know a lot about 40K, and I just know women don't like
You ever
me.
seen that meme where it's like the facts I know about, let's say, like 40K, and it's this massively thick book, and then it's like the next picture is things I know about things that are relevant in real life, and it looks like a book slightly bigger than your thumb. That's how I feel sometimes. Like I should know more about real life.
No, you don't need to. It's fine.
But I don't. So
Yeah, well, the modern economy is all about specialization. So
exactly, I'm a
it's all about
specialized
knowing a lot
40K.
about a very niche topic.
As a jack of all trades,
Master
master
of
of none. But do you know that's actually not the full saying?
Well, I know that's a revised, or it's like a parody version
Yeah.
of the original
And
saying.
for the life of me, I can't remember it.
It's jack of all trades, master of one.
No, it's shit. There's like a second line to it, is what
Oh,
there is.
really?
Yeah, and it's like, but better to know like all than just one or something.
I thought it was jack of all trades, master of one.
There's a real thing. Fuck it, I can't remember. I wish I did. See, and this is one of those things that I wish I knew instead of the difference between
I feel like
the
you
Dark
could go
Mechanicum and the
your
Mechanicum.
whole life without knowing
No,
that saying
no.
and be fine.
I would have more places to say that saying in real life than I would to someone on the street talking to them about the difference between the Dark Mechanicum.
Well, if you walk up and you start raging, be like, the Dark Mechanicus!
Mech.
You know, if you come up to me on the street,
I have my robe on
okay.
and my axe.
Well, all you need is just
axe.
cardboard shoulder pads, and you'll be added into it. So I have a question just as we get started.
Sure.
Is technology evil?
No, of course not.
Are the
No.
people behind technology evil?
Yeah.
Depends.
Potentially.
This is the question I think we will be exploring today.
It's intent.
Yes.
It all comes down to intent.
Is this guns don't kill people?
Well,
they
if
don't.
they're fueled by a demon, they can.
Oh, and absolutely must and do.
Yes,
So,
repeatedly. So
yeah. With prejudice.
yeah.
With much prejudice. Anyways, let's get really quickly through some stuff before we get into it. The main one being, I would like to ask everyone a little bit of would you rather.
A little would you rather game.
A little
40k style.
You want a little would you rather, Mark? Well, a little more Christmas pud. Anyway,
a little more would you rather?
Of course you would. Okay, so I'll ask everyone would you rather, and it will be keeping of the theme. Now, I only have 2 questions for this, so if someone thinks of one, you're please more than welcome to share it with the group. Anyways, my first question to you is, would you rather exchange your brain for like a biomechanical brain, and like you have unlimited capacity to like process and memorize things, and then you keep your flesh body though with all its limitations? Or would you give up your flesh body, get a mechanical one, but retain a brain that will ultimately fail over time?
The flesh is weak, so I would drop this horrible mortal coil that I have. The listeners may not know, I've been a very sick person for most of my life. So
mentally, physically,
psychologically.
So it does make sense, and it's actually the appeal to the Mechanicus and the Dark Mechanicus as well, is this idea of you're going to be able to transcend your body, move beyond. The thing is, body horror is also a freaky deaky thing when you're looking at Mechanicus, so you can get too far, you know?
Absolutely you could. But you would give up your body and keep your brain.
I'd keep the brain.
Okay. Marcus.
Yeah, same thing. Like, I'm already super smart. I don't need all this processing power. Like,
we all started laughing at the table.
Pretty fucking good, if you know what I mean.
You give up the body.
Yeah. Plus, it would be easier for me to reach my 400-pound weight
it
limit
would.
if I had
you'd reach it in one leg.
Yeah, if I had a titanium body. So
well, there's your New Year's goal right there. Boom, done.
Titanium body.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Jordan.
Titanium penis.
That's all Jordan needs.
That's the only body part he's swapping out.
That just says a lot about his current situation.
No.
Just a little guy. Doesn't do a whole lot. It's eager. I'll give him that, but
You are very familiar with Jordan's reproductive organs.
Yeah. Well, you know, he told me things in confidence.
Oh, yeah. Let's share all those things right now. No, Jordan, what do you swap out?
So what was the other alternative with the brain?
So you swap out your brain,
Yeah.
or you swap out your body.
So
Like, if you swapped out your body, you would keep your like original brain,
yeah.
and you'd be hooked into your body. And you could,
Yeah,
but your brain will still fail at some point, right? Because brains fail.
I guess so.
Or you keep your body, and you have a brain with like unlimited capacity.
that would be a pretty sweet brain, but like, don't you lose like yourself, kind of your soul, so to speak?
If you were
like, are
able
you a
to-
different person?
No,
now?
you're the same person.
Okay.
You just,
I don't know.
I mean, technically, you're a different person because you have the ability to grow beyond what a regular human can do.
Like, if it's still me, I would probably take the upgraded brain. Like, you could understand such incredibly complex systems. You could like take over the world.
For sure.
You would be.
And yeah, you wouldn't live as long as someone who changed their body.
Yeah,
Right? But in like your lifespan, you'd probably accomplish. In my opinion, I think I could accomplish more with an upgraded brain.
Yeah, you'd be so
than I
efficient,
could with an upgraded body. So I'm a brain guy too. I'd rather swap out my brain.
Yeah, totally.
You also have to think about the shell that your brain is going into, though, because a difference between Mechanicus and their dark version would be your brain may be removed from your body, but it's not exactly promised to be going into a human-shaped shell, because there's actually no saying that it wouldn't wind up into a quadruped tank.
Or Roomba, because we're not in 40k. In this situation, we're in our current time, so
Fair.
Our most advanced robots are the Roomba.
You get a car. You're in a self-driving car.
Yeah.
That's
I would just picture Mark's Roomba just keeps bumping up against the couch trying to kill itself and falls down some stairs. We're like, why does this keep doing this?
the robot on Rick and Morty when he's like, "What's my purpose?" He's like, "Pass me the butter." Oh my god.
Jeez.
Okay, so there was that question. And does anyone have another would you rather? Or else literally I'm at the last of my brain.
Give us your last
This
one.
is why I need an upgraded brain. So my last question is, would you rather join the Adeptus Mechanicus and follow the Cult Mechanicus?
Yeah.
Or would you rather join the new Mechanicum?
I think we should answer this question at the end of the episode.
Fair enough. After we discuss
Yeah.
all the good things of the Dark Mechanicum, I'm okay
I
with
see
that.
where you're leaning now, but interesting. Okay.
No, I'm just trying to stay positive. Just like how in our last Tau episode, I didn't go off on the Poctroons as I should have, as my heart was telling me to do.
Jeez.
You know, Brant always tells me you follow your heart unless your heart is wrong. So I'm following my heart, and then we're seeing where it goes. So
Wise man, that Brand.
it's so full of wisdom.
Wisdom.
That's the core wisdom.
He should write a book of Proverbs.
I literally have, you know that I have that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, we should get the listeners to do that. Send us your best 40K proverbs.
Ooh, I wouldn't mind that.
They can be great advice.
Yes. Or I don't know. What was the or?
Oh, well, a good
I
one
was
could be-
I was trying to track with you, but I wasn't.
Well, a good
so.
one could always be, affix bayonets. Another good one would be stop digging up tomb worlds.
Right. That's a pretty good one, actually. I think. Just out of respect for our Xenos neighbors.
Of course.
I think that would be good.
Get off my roof.
But without further ado, adieu
The dude?
and see you later.
Apu.
I thought
Hey, whoa, you can't say that. Yeah.
No.
It was. It was meant to
it was
do that.
beautiful.
Yeah, thank
Moving
you.
on.
Let's talk about the Dark Mechanicum. Let's dive right in, and we're gonna start that off with way back when there was no such thing as the Adeptus Mechanicus, and there was no such thing as the Dark Mechanicum. There only was the Mechanicus and the Void Dragon
Yeah.
and Mars.
You had me, you lost me, you had me again.
I got you again.
You had me
Oh,
again.
you always want a little bit more Mars, don't you? But the Mechanicus. Now we do have a full episode.
Yeah, go check out episode 23.
Yeah.
We cover it pretty extensively.
Yeah,
The
and we
broad
even-
themes of it.
We even talk a little bit about the schism and the break between the Mechanicum and
Yeah.
the Dark Mechanicum.
Yeah.
But as like a TLDR, if for some reason you're listening to it right now, this episode, and you don't want to go back, I just got a little blurb. Mars was the first planet that humanity colonized. They developed vast technological knowledge separate from Terra. They would spread their own ideals, knowledge, and cult to the galaxy until brought back into the Imperium by the Emperor as a supplier of anything tech-related that's war and civilian.
Yeah, and
to
that
the
was during
Imperium.
the Great Crusade.
Yeah, that's when he brought them back. And but they existed separately for a long time.
Yeah, for thousands of years, potentially.
Yeah.
So.
And that's a very simple background, and let's get right into what we call the seeds of heresy.
So the Mechanicum at the time had its own set of beliefs, its own culture, and it was pretty much in line with what the Emperor thought in a lot of ways, because the Emperor kind of semi-founded it way back in the day. But
If you believe that kind of propaganda, yes.
okay. Okay, yeah, I believe Lexicanum and the words that it writes and the words that Games Workshop writes.
I
yeah.
don't.
Oh, wow.
It's all a falsehood.
Wow, Poctroon, yeah, wow,
Well,
okay.
The best is when they try and tell you that they try and tell you what you should and shouldn't take in your army, and then you create a vehicle that doesn't exist, and you want to say like, "Oh no, it's okay. I'll just make up the rules and the
Yeah.
point values for what I want."
Yeah.
That sounds very pointed across the table.
It's not. I'm pointedly not looking at Mark right now.
Well, it could be worse. You could have an army that makes all of the transports in the entire Imperium, and then they can't field any of them. So
Makes sense.
we got to drill, though. Drill, baby, drill.
Yeah, so during the Great Crusade, eventually Horus gets corrupted by Chaos, one of the Emperor's sons, one of his Primarchs.
So sad.
But what ends up happening is Horus realizes he needs to take over some of the Mechanicum in order to actually be successful in his war against the Emperor. Because as we know about the Mechanicum, they make everything from a toaster to a las cannon. And by God, you got to have some toast in the morning if you're going to make a...
Yeah, if you want to get a successful rebellion, you better have had a good breakfast.
Yeah. So Horus, when he was planning his rebellion, he knew that he needed that. So he actually approached the Mechanicum and, offered them little timbits.
Well, for a second, I thought you said timbits.
Oh, I did.
Okay, but you meant to say tidbits.
No.
Canadian-style donut timbits.
Yeah, it's a donut hole.
Yes.
Yeah, in case any of you don't know what a timbit
I
is.
said what I said.
No, but I think that's hilarious.
That comes out of my mouth.
It's intentional.
Literally, join the dark side and we have cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just remember, boys, I chose for a better body, not brain, because it's already fucking top notch.
With your stomach's kind of...
That's why I need the better body.
So Horus offered them some timbits.
Some Timbits, yeah, Timbits.
What were those Timbits?
I like it.
I'm going with it. What were those Timbits?
So as we know with the Mechanicum, they're like super religious and like everything's like steeped in like mysteries. And,
Religious
like,
to machines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like steeped in like thousands of years of like, if you want to turn a light switch on, you actually have to like anoint it with the sacred oils. And first you got to light a candle and you have to do all these.
I mean, that
types
might be
of-
a little memey, but the reality is like
It's pretty
it
religious.
could be real,
Wow, yeah. Well,
right?
whenever they apply the sacred oils, I literally take it as like an oil change. Like, okay, before
Correct.
you turn on your car, you know, you need to do oil changes. They just take it to like a religious level.
Yeah.
And they have a bunch of like things what they can do, they can't do, and they're also always questing for knowledge. And trying to find new technology because they end up worshipping the technology. So one of the big things that Horus promised was the access to the STCs of the Arturian technocracy.
Now, you covered them in a earlier episode on the podcast. They were another splinter group of humanity that had kind of gone off and developed on their own.
Did we really?
I think you did.
Oh yeah, that's canon. Colyn wouldn't lie.
No, he wouldn't.
That
He
man's
would
a
never.
trustworthy man.
Of course he is.
So here's the thing. The vaults of Moravec are where a lot of this technology was stored by the Emperor on Mars, and said, my fellow Martians, you will not go into this vault. I will make sure that you have... I will be your messiah figure. I will do all these great things for you. Just don't touch that. And as humanity has gone on to prove, if you say don't touch that
we want to
thing,
touch it.
you want to touch it.
Right. It's just I don't even if I know it's bad for me, I still want to put my finger in there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's bad for me. I want to do it.
So STCs are really hard to find. Just in
Yeah, they're
general.
like they're blueprint essentially.
They're books.
Books, sure.
Yeah.
Digital books.
Not even.
I like to
sometimes.
think that like when you open them, the pages are actual digital things, and like you turn like a hologram,
Right.
And like you open it up, or the hologram like 3D like creates itself.
See,
in front of you.
I have a different idea of it. I like to picture them like this sci-fi future, them being actual paper copy
Oh
books.
man,
Absolutely.
because that would make them so easy to destroy.
Well, that's the problem. That's why
Yeah.
they're hardly around. And it's
Yeah.
funny that you think kind of that Star Trek idea of, you walk up to the machine, you're like, give me a bagel, and then it prints out the perfect bagel. But
Sure.
like having to read a book for human knowledge is something that's how we've always carried knowledge from one generation to the next. And as Mark was saying,
Other than verbally,
well, true, but I mean,
Songs?
the things that have been, those can change. Those adapt, stories adapt, and what we talk about changes. But as Mark was saying, you walk up to a light switch or a machine and you're reciting these verbal doctrines, because if you ask me, how does a light switch actually work, the act of flicking the switch and how that carries electricity through a system, I don't know. He knows.
Oh, God, no, it's fucking magic, man.
is black magic. Yeah,
Well, fair enough.
but that's why he's a wizard.
That is why.
I'm Electro Wizard.
Electro
Priest.
Wizard.
Electro priest.
Yeah.
We are going to do a photo shoot of you as an electro priest with the bear shirt holding the rod.
With like the Tesla coils on his head.
Sharpie Electu tattoos all
Yes.
over his body.
Perfect.
Tell us, listeners, if this is what you want.
Anything that gets Mark to take his shirt off, I think people will enjoy.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting hypothesis.
So Horus basically approached the Mechanicum. You can have all these like ancient wonders, all these secrets. So this was one promise he made them. The other promise was, he not only promised STCs, but also promised them that they're allowed to open the vaults on Mars.
Yeah.
Not only promised them that they're allowed to open it, but that he would get them the means to open it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
they
it
did
was
not,
sealed.
they were unable to
Yeah.
open it. And when the Emperor first showed up on Mars, he's like, look, like join me, but never open these things. And to them, it wasn't a big deal because like we can't open it anyway. So
Yeah. So that intrigued him. That played
Yeah.
a big part. Another thing that Horus did was he sent his spies and emissaries and fed the Mechanicum with these reports.
One of them was that the Emperor was going to steal the secrets of the Mechanicum and technologies from them, and so then it would kind of make it so he didn't need them anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like, knowledge is power, and if he takes your knowledge, he takes your power.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that the Horus's spies fed into the Mechanicum was that the Emperor was eventually going to enslave all the tech priests.
Yeah.
And so whereas before you were a working member, now you're just going to be a mindless drone working on the factory line.
Yeah.
Or that you would actually have no operations of your own, that you would be chained to a table and
Just-
someone would come and say, make this thing.
Sure.
And then you're effectively Geppetto. You're like shambling to put together machines and stuff like that and strapped to a table.
Nice.
And so using those little timbits,
Yeah.
Horus convinced
chocolate Timbits?
many... another thing that he did. Sorry, I forgot there was 3 things. And this plays into a big divisive thing within the Mechanicum is Horus convinced many of the priests that the Emperor had lied to them when he claimed to be the Omnissiah. And there was already a portion of the priests on the Mechanicum who already didn't really like the Emperor's admittance that he was the Omnissiah.
Yeah.
And so they were all... This just gave them all the fuel they needed to be like, no, like, he's not the Omnissiah.
Don't go for
There
it.
were also some who, so the majority, we could probably say, did believe that the Emperor was the Omnissiah. Those that didn't were like, well, he's kind of capitalizing on this, or I don't think he is the true God machine. He's not the true base of knowledge. But there were also some who saw that and were angry about it. They're like, he is not the Omnissiah. And there were some that were like, I don't believe he is, and I don't care. Like a character Coriel Zeth. But the problem there is that when the Dark Mechanicum starts to roll around, it allows the component that were angry at the Emperor to immediately isolate and turn on those who were, we will just say effectively, non-religious. So it's both people who are non-religious and hyper-devoted that are being set upon by the Dark Mechanicum.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good time. That's a good recipe.
Oh, it's a great time.
3 easy steps to turn
People against each other.
people against each other.
Horus's Guide to Rebellion. An idiot's guide to rebellion.
Idiot's Guide to Rebellion.
Yeah.
Chicken soup for the heretic soul.
For the heretic soul, yeah. And then directly coming out of this whole thing as Horus is building this up, we come to the Schism of Mars.
Yeah, so Horus was actually able to convince half of the Mechanicum to join him in his rebellion. And there were many conflicts around the galaxy, but the main one happened, and like the first shots of Mechanicum firing on Mechanicum happened on Mars. That's what?
Is that what they would sound
Actually,
like?
no,
That was not laser sounding. Yeah, exactly.
Actually, it's actually more like stone burners, like huge nuclear devices turning volcanoes on.
Yeah, magma flow was going on the planet.
Screams everywhere. Just entire populations of hive cities wiped out.
There is a...
So what we're talking about is a schism of Mars. In case you couldn't piece that together by Colyn's
war cries. War cries.
So the schism of Mars, the fabricator general, who is like the leader of the Mechanicum at the time, Calbor Hal, had been persuaded by Horus's cause and was willing to rebel against the Mechanicum.
Yeah, and Horus's like main contact in this thing was Adeptus Regulus, just like not like a super low guy, but also not like a top guy, kind of somewhere more towards the top. But anyways, he was just someone who had Horus's here. He like had his own forge, and he left to go join Horus, and he's the one who brought a lot of stuff back to the Mechanicum on his behalf. So once the Mechanicum agrees that okay, Horus, like, or half of them are like, we're gonna join you. Horus gives Regulus the way to open the vaults.
The vaults of
Moravec.
Yeah,
the ones that were previously forbidden to enter.
And that gets passed off to Calbor Hal.
Yeah.
And they go down to the vaults and they speak the kind of demonic words that are able to open up. And the transformation of Calbor Hal when these things open is one of my favorite parts of 40K. It is.
Yeah, tell us about it.
It's kind of the
Then he
equivalent
just
of...
like dye his hair black. And he's like, I'm the dark.
You put on a black trench coat.
I'm deleting all my friends' phone numbers.
You can find me on my new MySpace. It's called 2Goth4U41.
Yeah, exactly. RarXD. He's emo now.
So what happens is when they open up the vaults, and it's this idea that you can detect that something is wrong in your synthetic systems. It's the idea that imagine the body horror of you look at your hand and then all of a sudden you can just see your fingernail starting to peel back. But it's not actually happening. It's all in your head. And that's the first step, is that there's this corruption of code that starts to wash through. Imagine everything in the room, all of the reds start to become more pronounced and all the other colors go away. And it's the idea that your brain is effectively being hijacked. And the only equivalence I can come up with is...
Good luck hijacking my brain. That thing is locked down fucking tight.
It's people who've had a really bad drug trip. It's like if you've just been smashed with a whole bunch of drugs and it's just making you go crazy. At the same fact, though, it's changing his body. And so you've got that dark smoke coming off. You've got different systems that are articulated in his body changing.
So all this does happen when they open the door, but why does it happen?
So the idea is that it's actually something that the Emperor had locked away. What it is exactly is kind of a combination between dark words, it's science, it's fantasy, it's scrap code.
It was originally, though, an AI system.
Yes, whether it's a fully autonomous, because it doesn't speak to the reader.
Well, not anymore. But because this is... The way I had read it, that it was described, was that this is an AI system that was locked away and then over the course of thousands of years has been corrupted by chaos. So maybe in the beginning it might have been an autonomous...
and scrap code is a living thing.
Yeah.
It's also really hard to define what it is.
It's like a virus, if anything.
Yeah.
It's a moving, changing, like
living
virus with an actual will.
Yes.
And its will is to just spread itself and change everything.
Yeah.
So, but that is what they found when they opened these doors.
Yeah.
So something that the Emperor was right to say, do not go into, ta-da, you've played yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, the people who were in line with Horus, this is a great thing for them. It can infect their systems. It can change them into more chaotic leaning. For everybody else, though, it's like, pull the cords, unplug everything, shut down the system.
Don't let it enter.
Yeah.
And this whole thing is actually called the death of innocence. When the scrap code actually starts to infect the entire planet of Mars, this is what they call the death of innocence. So everything is being infected.
And the one like crazy thing too is Colin kind of played it up, like everyone's pulling the plugs and stuff because literally anything it touched was fucked. Like, it was that powerful. There's no way to defend it except for cutting yourself off completely. A lot of this comes from, like, the Dark Mechanicum book in the Horus Heresy series. One of the few books I actually read.
And liked.
I liked it, sure. Yeah, it was good. But,
I'm
sure I liked it.
like, sure, why not?
Cyborg humans on the cover? I'm here.
Here's the thing. It's not knights, right?
It had
So-
knights
There are knights in it,
though.
and that's why.
No, it was good. It was like, oh, Space Marines fighting Space Marines. And then the night book, different flavor from the Horus Heresy came on.
Yeah.
It was nice. It was enjoyable.
Yeah.
It was a nice break from all the, oh, my brother shot me. Which the first 10 books were like.
I mean...
A major simplification.
Yeah. Over.
I don't understand emotions.
Let's get back to the battle on Mars.
But yeah, like, so a pitched battle followed on the planet with millions dying and monstrous war machines brought to bear.
Yeah, so Colin was talking before about how, like, volcanoes and everything were erupting. There was a time where 14 million people living on the planet died within minutes because of magma that was redirected and took over their entire city.
Yeah.
So 14 million within minutes. And that's not even talking about nuclear weapons that they use, because they use nukes on their planet as well.
Yeah.
All bets are off.
Yeah,
Every
it
weapon
was
you have, you've got
wild.
giant... Well, you can also have Ornanatus machines.
Yeah.
Under the planet, shooting through continents to hit each other if you wanted to.
Mark was even going to talk about a couple of, like, the bigger things that are
More
holy crap.
normalized?
No, they're more known for being participating. Fuck words.
So what were there?
Titan Legions and Knights. And yeah, that's a good time.
Titans.
The
The Legios.
I forget how many Titan Legions are on Mars, but like if you even have one Titan on a planet, that's pretty fucking terrifying. But they had entire legions battling each other.
Yeah.
Multiple legions.
Multiple
like, it's
legions.
crazy.
Like one of the scenes in the book was so sweet. It was like the story of like a warhound like running around like trying to like outflank other Titans and like if you didn't know what a Warhound and a Titan, like Imperator Titan was, you'd think, oh, like this is just like
Giant robots.
Not even, I wouldn't even think like giant robots. Like I would think like
Star
no, I
Wars.
just would think like infantry. Like that's how they're describing it. Like just like he's outflanking a building, like walking around stealthily behind a building. Like it's very, you don't understand the scale of it until you know the scale of it, because everything's so big in 40K that when you're stealthing behind a building, like that building itself is too
gigantic.
It's too big.
It's 2 kilometers tall, right?
Exactly. Everything is just too big. So it was just an awesome.
It's like trying to say Godzilla hides behind a skyscraper. You're like, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
Now picture everything are these giant multi-story skyscrapers.
And then they're shooting rockets that can level continents, and it's just like, holy fuck.
So a pretty big battle took place on Mars.
Some great playing chicken moments with Titans and Knights running at each other's lines.
And like there's like that ceasefire, or it wasn't really a ceasefire.
I got chills, Mark. It's such a good part of the book. They're trying to divert a Titan Legion away, and there's kind of this like no fire zone. Like if you cross it, we will have to declare war. And it's like this last minute like diversion, and you're like, oh wow, crisis was averted.
Oh wow.
And then you're just like, no, the real war is right around the corner. Yeah. And you also start to get the beginning of the Dark Mechanicum's machines, like the Caban machine. And these devices that can stealth.
The Caban is pretty wild.
Caban is nuts.
Yeah.
We'll get to it, though.
But in the end, the Dark Mechanicum was able to wipe out the Loyalists, or at least drive them into hiding.
And they took control for themselves.
Yep, they secured Mars. So now they had Mars, and then as soon as this happened, Forge Worlds across the Empire, the Imperium, started fighting and trying to get control. So sometimes they won, sometimes they lost. Scrap code was released everywhere, type thing. But the schism of Mars didn't happen just on Mars. It happened galaxy wide. Like Mars is just as much of an idea of like the Mechanicum as it is like the planet.
Yeah.
Like half the Mechanicum fell to chaos.
If you imagine Holy Terra falls under chaos influence, every other planet within its domain you're going to have people starting to fight who are not just loyalists and chaos. You're going to have renegades. You're going to have opportunists.
Exactly, yeah.
You're going to have entire Forge Worlds in this example were responsible for making las weaponry, and then they changed it like, holy crap, no, we have to get that planet back.
Of course, yeah.
It huge ripples throughout the half of the Imperium.
As the Horus Heresy is known for.
Yeah. Well, some would say. Some would say.
Small fry in the big scope of things.
So at the end of the day, we all know how the Horus Heresy goes. So Horus is defeated.
They make friends. There's a good peace, everlasting peace brought to the galaxy.
No. Maybe? No.
40K is a game where it's literally a tabletop game played in 40K where people just pit their wits against each other. And there's lots of smack talk.
Nice. Perfect.
A lot of smack talk.
But there's no bloodshed.
Just imagine, though, a 40K farm simulator.
We keep coming back to this one farm guy who's on every planet whenever something horrible happens behind him. I need to name it. We need fan art. We need this guy to actually be put into canon.
But like the farm simulator,
it's like SimCity, right? But
but you're not so much like actually farming. You're more just defending.
You're trying to live. You're trying to survive because you're farming. You're like a season in. The crop is starting to show, and you're really excited. And all of a sudden, the sky goes black, and a demon ascends, and you're like, "Run away!" I guess I'll plant next season.
Farm simulator. 40K.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny.
That's more 40K than the peace love.
Way more 40K.
Even a simple farmer
has life to give.
But so we know how that story goes. Horus is defeated, and this is when we get into the Great Scouring,
which was an Imperium-wide effort.
Yeah. After the Horus Heresy, many planets, Mars and Forge Worlds included, were held in the grips of chaos in the Dark Mechanicum. A massive military effort was made to reclaim these worlds, and Mars and many other Forge Worlds were liberated and placed back into the Imperium's control. So this is really, I would say,
I feel like we're glossing over the fact that Mars is recaptured.
I guess I rambled it pretty quick.
Well, it's just that we're not really going to talk about it, so.
Well, several intellectuals from Mars escape. You've got Arkan Land goes on the run. So all of these loyalist Mechanicum figures, characters, are all like, hey, can you, maybe that you're done on Holy Terra, can you maybe kind of come back to Mars and help us clean up a bit? Now that the the Traitor Legions had been defeated, Mars is right next door to Terra. It's on the doorstop.
Yes.
It's the closest celestial
it's
body.
strategically even
other than the moon.
unnecessary.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, cool. Hope you like running, heretics, because that is our next stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they basically do that throughout the entire galaxy, just taking the next planet over, the next system over, the next system over to that one. And they eventually are able to drive back all the traitors into the Eye of Terror. But
Foolhardy plan. Terrible.
I don't know why they did that. It could have been unintentional.
Could they have actually driven them to a different planet? That would have been nice, just like send them to the far eastern fringe away from
I like to think it's more of a fighting retreat
Yes.
from chaos.
They're guided
and
their
they're
way back.
specifically like setting up barriers to go to
When you read the Great Scouring on Lexicon, it talks about how the Emperor said drive them to the Eye of Terror. But even for a Chaos member, that would have been your place to go hide.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So this is where the Dark Mechanicum is fully this is where it kind of really brands its name. I'm sure when the first shots were fired, they're not you want to
giving up a different flag, right?
Exactly. They're not really branding themselves at that point.
But then they met a guy named Colyn, and Colyn branded them.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. Well, actually, it was the fight of binary succession. The fact is, the Dark Mechanicum did not rebrand. They said, we are the Mechanicum. And so the Mechanicum on Mars is but that's impossible. Yeah. You can't have two fabricator generals. There can only be one.
Yeah.
And so with the Scouring, that developed into, if you're reading all of the 40K books as from the perspective of the Imperium,
that's the thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's where the Dark Mechanicum is effectively born.
Yeah.
Where the Mechanicum shifts into becoming the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Yeah.
Now, what you call the Dark Mechanicum, some people call it the Dark Mechanicum, the New Mechanicum, the Original Mechanicum, or the Dark Mechanicus, if you look at the keywords. Yeah. I personally like Mechanicum, that they would have been that arrogance that we're going to come back, we're going to get Mars. We branded, we kept the name.
Exactly. Screw you guys, this is our RIP.
Yeah.
No, I definitely prefer Mechanicum too. I even like the New Mechanicum better because they would see themselves as being reborn out of the schism of Mars and be like, we're the true Mechanicum people, and you can change your name to the Adeptus Mechanicus if you want, but we are we're holding back to what we originally were, even though they aren't.
The Mechanicus budged, actually. The Adeptus Mechanicus changed their name, so they're fine, we'll continue being Mechanicum.
Yeah.
So that leads to what this new Dark Mechanicum becomes. They're in the Eye of Terror. And they are going to serve many of the same functions as the Adeptus Mechanicus. Now, that said, resources in the Eye of Terror are far fewer than...
Few and far between.
Across the entire galaxy. So these figures kind of become the official mechanics, the idea, the generators of weird esoteric technology.
Innovators.
The innovators, because you don't have a lot of resources to work with. So sometimes you got to cut corners by throwing a demon into the other half of the operating system.
Or three.
Or three. At which point the operating system overloads and you're like, what have I done?
But you raised a good point that they provide all these things. They pretty much are still the Mechanicum. They provide not only weapons of war, but they also will provide farming equipment because heretics still need to eat.
So the dark version of Gordon the Farmer in the Eye of Terror.
Yeah.
Still needs
Gordonian.
Gordonian?
I think
it's Gordon backwards.
I think I think it gets played up too much that the traders, that they are only scavengers. But they have their own empire. They have their own resources. They make their own stuff.
Not to say that they aren't scavengers.
Oh, yeah,
but
yes. Not to say...
But I do think that you're 100% right. People just assume that they only take what they can get.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas they do have a working manufactorum.
Yeah, and they're capable of building their own vehicles, their own fresh war gear. They're capable of making their own ammunition. They're not just looting.
You can be a heretic and live a peaceful life.
Sure. Yeah. No, absolutely. Why not?
Right?
If you're just a heretic on a forge
exactly,
world,
you're just a farmer.
You might not necessarily be on the battlefront.
Exactly, but I don't think people...
You're clocking in, you're doing your 24-hour day.
Exactly.
It's no big deal.
24-hour day.
It's a peaceful life.
It's on a 26-hour planet.
You're only going to live 3 months, but it's a peaceful existence.
No, but I do think people forget that there's a living aspect of the traitors as well.
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
living aspect does require technology.
Yeah,
and
these-
accoutrements.
Yeah, and these behind the scenes mechanicum, and I really hope eventually they get some more like model support. Like, they'd be cool.
They've been teasing little by little, but
the Horus Heresy
in the
ones,
Horus
yeah.
Heresy, but also with Blackstone Fortress, you've got the Dark Electro Priests.
Oh yeah.
So there's the idea that wherever the heretics, wherever the heretics go, the Dark Mechanicum are with them, supporting what they do.
Exactly.
Which is the exact same as what we have, right?
They are literally a dark mirror to the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Now they have ideological differences
Yes.
that have
Yeah.
since changed
Yeah.
from the Scouring. Did one of you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, we are going to. I guess we kind of.
I think we're there on our notes.
Okay, sure.
With
Yeah,
Colin,
I was-
we're very more conversationist.
Yeah, I was-
It's always interesting, like different guests we have on, a kind of a different vibe.
Don't
takes
compare.
over.
You can't compare our children. Mark.
I've actually
comparing.
overclocked your brains when I got in here.
33.
Well, the something because their purpose. I'm just trying to think of what was your note on.
Oh,
this
we
section.
can talk a little bit about it later. Let's talk about who the servants of the
Sure,
Dark
whatever you
Mechanicum
want.
are.
Sure. He's the one in charge, man.
Yeah,
He's the
no,
Dark
okay.
Mechanicus specialty.
Let's. Okay, because we're on their purpose. We're talking about. I'm sorry, I've lost the flow.
I threw him
I've
off. I threw him-
lost
all right.
everything. It's so bad.
All right, I threw him off. So here's what we'll do. I'll talk a little bit about the ideological difference. That okay? That all right?
It works for me.
All right. Good.
All right, so Jordan
Good luck.
just cut 5 minutes of Eric rambling.
No, I was crying. There's a difference.
So the difference between the Adeptus Mechanicus and the Dark Mechanicum are like this. The Adeptus Mechanicus is now part of the Lords of Terra, and they operate as an independent empire parallel within the Imperium. Their religious beliefs are almost druidic. So what that means is that they see...
I know what druid mean.
I don't think you do, based on that.
Timbits. Sorry, go on.
So
I'm smart.
everything
You guys
about
want to
the...
get Timbits after this?
I'm really hungry now.
I want a Timbit.
Can we cut the show? Let's just go
Let's just go get a Tim Hortons.
donut holes. Yeah.
Get a double, eh?
Oh my!
I'll tell you what that's all about.
All right, don't you know though? So the Adeptus Mechanicus see the pursuit of knowledge as their highest goal. Stemming from that, they see machine spirits in technology. So they treat them with reverence, and they try to gain their aid, and they believe in balance between the living and the transhuman, the machine.
Yeah.
The Dark Mechanicum, they operate as a legion of heretics and mad scientists. So rather than this highly structured empire, they may actually be absorbed into different war bands, taken almost as a currency between some of the different warring legions. But their religious belief is almost, rather than druidic and working in balance and appeasing spirits and providing tribute, they see technology as something to be shackled and controlled. So in that sort of shamanistic way, machine spirits are elemental forces and they should be wrought. You should be able to control them and tell them what you want them to do.
Forge them into what you want.
Correct. So that's kind of the
So
main
one
difference.
is good, one is bad?
Well, no, they're both good.
Both objectively complete
Both
their
offer
goals.
power.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's a good description of their ideological differences. I think is that one views them as divine and they worship machines, and the other one views them as nothing more than a means to their end.
They're elemental, they're a force,
Yeah.
but you want to...
You can control it though.
Yes.
And you should control
Yeah.
it even to further your own goals.
Now, if you pray to the tornado and it dissipates, that's one thing. If you say, I'm going to wrangle that tornado and go beat this other person with it, those are kind
I
of...
want to see both of these now.
It's a type of power fist. Hold on, let's actually say
tornado.
this. During the heights of
Dark age of
humanity,
technology,
I could
yeah.
actually see this happening.
Right.
A glove
Tornadoes.
that wrangles tornadoes.
and you go to like a planet with just like lots of tornado activity, and it's like a test.
Yes.
There was like this one group of humans that were like, you need to go bring back the power of a tornado, and they use it to power their cities.
father was a
because it's
tornado
completely
wrangler.
green energy, right? They gain this tornado in their hand, and then they put this glove back in their machine. Boom, energy.
Fact.
Fact.
Fantastic.
Canon.
Canon.
Yeah.
Someone write a story.
Well, that summarized it.
The other big thing that the Dark Mechanicum is known for
Is their goals, the difference in goals.
Yeah, and that's that they're willing to experiment in not only creating but like using AI. which the regular
a big difference.
Mechanicum do not dabble with that stuff.
Well, maybe Call. He could probably get away with it.
Oh yeah, he's probably created some.
He probably has.
Oh yeah, for all we know, all the Primaris are actually
Deny it, Colin.
You have to think of AI as a separate
Deny
component.
it.
Yeah, AI is just another segment of technology because, again, it's all about the pursuit of knowledge.
Yes, it is. But there are, like, the rules that are placed upon the Cult Mechanicus
Absolutely.
are not followed by the Dark Mechanicum.
No. Also, kind of because they have to. You're in the Eye of Terror. It's a very turbulent place. You may not be able to say, well, if I, apply the salve and recite the holy rites, I'll be able to get this arc ship working again. You're like, screw it.
It might not happen. Let's just summon a demon.
Yeah.
Right? You gotta do what you gotta do.
Or you cut corners and you start sacrificing members of your crew, their blood. You find actually... Well,
there was this one cult that we were reading on where the cult of the Lubrici, and literally they worship lubricant, but I forget what the wording was, but like the best lubricant is when you mix virgin blood and lubricant.
Well, they viewed lubricant as like, since it makes machines like move and work together, there must be a lubricant of the universe.
Yeah.
And it was...
the blood of virgins.
Right, yeah. But
clearly.
They were all destroyed by Death Watch, so...
Ain't no thing.
Yeah. They don't exist anymore, so that's good. We're safe.
But we just put that knowledge out there, so now somebody's
my-
going to like that. Some really edgy guy's like, I liked virgins, and now he's going to bring it back. That's the thing, isn't it? That's how this happens.
I like virgins.
This is what I always hear. Oh, you guys inspired me to do this army. So
No,
now
please
the cult of the
do not be
lubricant is
inspired.
back. It's a thing.
It's the cult of the lubricate.
This is like this is turning
So
into
we're
like
safe. We're safe.
A TV crime drama where it's like the episode is the detectives found that these podcast hosts had like inspired this guy to go on a serial killer rampage.
Yes.
They interviewed Jordan
that's
and
what
they're
it
just
turns
like, what happened, man? He's like, I just work here.
But then it turns into a
just press
supernatural
play.
episode because there was a demon involved. It's good.
I think if Lorehammer ever gets a serial killer following, that's how we know we made it.
That's how we know.
No, I'm out. I am out. Not going down for this. All right,
okay.
so who makes up the Dark Mechanicum, Mark?
Well, there are servants of the Dark Mechanicum that serve the Mechanicum of the Darkness.
Which is opposed to the Mechanicus of Light.
Yes.
By the Emperor, and his good graces have given us permission to build things and meddle and shape things as to be served as tools in the Imperium,
these hand gestures
and wherefore that we would provide the Imperium with enough
Numbers
energy.
are whipping past his eyes right now.
I lost.
You overclocked them too much.
I've lost.
Let me dial it back. Hold on. We'll take out a few of these knowledge wafers. We'll replace them with memes. Here we go.
I like kittens.
There we go.
Kittens are funny.
One of the big things that the Titan Legions call upon, especially in war, is the Titan Legions. What?
You overclocked him too.
Let's take
One of the
out
things
this.
the Titans call
The Dark
upon-
Mechanicum do provide upkeep for the Heretic Titan Legions.
We did it, boys.
Do you-
That
okay,
sentence is done.
I have a question.
Yep.
Because you consistently say legions. Are they legions or are they legios?
Are you speaking high or low Gothic?
Ah, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah. Cool.
The end.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I speak High Gothic because I'm educated now.
You're an educated
I'm an
gentleman.
educated gentleman.
Really?
And I tip my hat to all the people I pass on the street, and I call them milady.
My God.
Or you tip your fedora.
Right. Well, yes.
Yeah.
So in the Titan Legions, in the Titan Legions, there are like Banelord Titans, which are a combination of organic material. Like you've got these horrible growths over top of the machinery, makes them more powerful, demonic infused. Those were created by the Dark Mechanicum. Yeah.
Is that a specific class of Titan?
Banelord? Yes.
So it's like you have Warhound, Imperator, Banelord.
I think that the Banelord is just the type. So you could have a Banelord Warlord. You could have a Banelord Warhound.
Because when I was reading, it sounded like every single Titan has been affected some way by chaos powers. And like that doesn't necessarily, like, you might put on armor on your Titan that like offers worship to your deity, but also the warp is going to affect it.
I don't know. I just know in the latest novel, Titan Death, that's where the introduction was, because a bunch of the Dark Mechanicum went to Beta Garmin and one of the worlds, and they're like, we need Titans. We're fighting the Imperium. We need Titans. Let's convert them.
Okay.
And so that's where that came from.
Cool.
Maybe
Yeah.
you'll get a model for the Forge World. Who knows?
Oh,
That'd be pretty sweet.
yeah, they have all their own titans, and one thing is they often will possess the titans and have them run by demons as opposed to like human crew.
Yeah,
And,
it says that a lot of the times, like the crew, like the princeps that were inside them, are long since dead.
Yeah.
And offered as sacrifices to the dark gods.
Their bodies
that they
litter the
serve.
walls. of the
Yeah,
inside.
like fused inside, or even are like those guys are possessed by demons. But it does say more commonly these machines are demon possessed. So, which is kind of cool. It's like empty and just run by demons.
Would you rather be the pilot of a Banelord Titan, or would you rather be the guy who has to clean up after each pilot?
Truly, I don't think they have pilots.
Truthfully, I don't think they clean up.
I don't think they need to send in pilots anymore now that a demon is running its
There
inside.
are still crews that maintain them.
Yeah. There'd have to be tech priests
Sorry,
and stuff.
but maintaining is different than
No, but
piloting.
you'd need a Moderate or a Princeps. You'd need someone.
Why? It says
No,
that
no, not-
it says the
for-
crews are long
yeah.
since dead and gone.
So they still do have like tech priestess crews. Like the pilots and the gunners are probably replaced by demons, but like
Work
you
the legs, you know?
Yeah, but you still need like tech priests on the inside to like actually fix things, because like you can't have a.
To keep the.
You could.
Sure, and I think for the most part, I like that description that you said, is that someone still has to fix everything once in a while. But
Yeah.
what if there's a sufficiently powerful enough demon?
But you also can't force its loyalty. Again, it's that shamanistic control. You might have tech priests inside that are like, I'm going to keep this machine spirit compliant. I'm going to keep
Yeah.
these systems working. Whereas another one might be saying, I'm going to keep this demon in the cockpit so it's not all of a sudden making the keyboards eat my hands.
I
The
definitely,
keys are just little mouths. They snip at you.
I like this.
I definitely viewed it as more of like an autonomous thing. Like once the demon, like once the
Some
Titan,
are. Some are.
once the Titan becomes like falls to chaos, it's now possessed by a demon, and like there's still ritual to awaken it and appease it because it's a huge demon. But it was more like you entreat the demon within the Titan to like help you.
Yeah, and that happens, but it's also 40k, and you can have chaos followers who don't really suffer from chaos. There's like an Imperial Guard regiment who fell to chaos called the Blood Pact, but they're like highly military, like super regimented, super strict. So you could pretty much have like a Chaos Titan who's very much similar, where they're still regular humans. They don't really suffer from any of the chaos like mutations, but they still serve chaos.
In which case they are more renegades than chaos infused.
Yeah, exactly. But there could be any number of things.
Sure.
But the one other really cool thing about Titans is they will often swear themselves to a certain god, and that will grant them additional benefits, like specifically to a god and not just like the powers of the warp.
Yeah.
So like the ones who swear themselves to like Chinch will be able to summon like lightning bolts and like, you know, fucking typical warp magic and whatever.
Typical.
Nurgle ones are highly resistant to
Yeah,
damage.
you know, all the typical stuff that you get when you follow a specific god.
Yeah.
So also, in addition to Titans, you've also got Traitor Knights.
Ooh,
Who,
Knights.
Now, Mark, you are. This will date the episode, but you are working on one right now.
I currently am, yes.
How's that going?
It's done, like built, but it's not painted.
Oh, do you have a story for it yet?
I do.
Another episode.
Yeah,
You'll have to tune back for.
I got big plans for this.
I
on
actually
me, and
really,
it is
I
fucking-
really like his story on this one.
All I can say is Lorehammer.
Appropriate,
Listen.
appropriate.
Brandon.
Mark you and your flappy mouth. But yeah, Traitor and Knight households. The one thing that is very interesting about Knights loyalists, they are compelled to be loyal. Like the machine spirits overwhelm them to be loyalists, and oftentimes like there's like a like it's hard for me to explain because I got flappy mouth, but it's not intelligent flaps. But like they're super honorable, and like their machine spirit drives them to be honorable and like
They're taking on the
loyal
qualities.
exactly. So it's very rare that when for like a Traitor Knight to happen, because like it literally has to like rewire their whole brain essentially. But what does happen when a Traitor Knight house does happen, it's crazy because they overpower all of that like that machine spirit
programming. Those neural links are overridden.
So they forsake all their oaths to the Emperor, and instead they pledge themselves to the ruinous powers. And as with Titans, most of the crews will like eventually die and become possessed, but you could have any manner of things. You could have
you can just have a fresh knight, right?
Exactly.
And I guess that's what I was missing, is that there's still new knights that are falling to chaos and new titans.
Yeah, exactly. But any manner of things, but they're usually way more corrupted, obviously, and because the knights, when they do fall, they fall hard. It's like, you know, when you get that shining paladin, when he falls super hard.
Yeah, but he's a paladin, so he probably doesn't fall.
Ooh, death
No,
notes.
no, and that's the point. They usually don't. Like 99% of them don't, but that 1% that does, it takes it to the fucking extreme.
Yeah, exactly. Their depravities are as bad as their good works were good.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is awesome.
So the knights get twisted by their proximity to chaos and warp powers, and so again they may start to exemplify different mutations on the carapace of the machine, just like the Titans.
Yeah, that's super common, actually, is some kind of warp mutation evident on these massive machines.
Your gun has now an open mouth.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things, actually, is the open mouth gun with like the barrel right out the mouth.
So for that knight with the harpoon cannon, it's a mouth, but instead of like a harpoon coil, it's like a fucking tongue.
Right, sure, as
a
well,
frog
but like
tongue.
because it also has like prongs on that, right?
Oh, so it's an alien
Their
mouth.
teeth.
Yes, an alien's mouth.
There's a lot of hand gestures that listeners will not be able to detect. Let me try to describe it for you. Oh god, it's too hard. They're doing more. Okay, you also have Traitor Scutari, who are the cybernetic military force. What's interesting about their appearance is that, much like the regular Scutari, who are human beings who are trying to get more augmentics, some of them will be completely loyalists and they are there because they want to. Some might be a little bit more like tech thralls, where they've had implants. They believe that they're hearing the divine word of the Omnissiah when it's actually just a tech priest in orbit who's pushing suggestions to them. It's scary because tech priests can just launch into a person's body, take them over like one of the agents in the Matrix and say, your body's going to do this now. The Dark Mechanicum, there is no standardized Scutari troop. Whereas with
how dare they?
With the Mechanicus in 40K, they try to keep a lot of them similarly built.
Yeah,
These guys,
2 legs, 2 arms.
Yep, these
one
are
head.
The ones in the Dark Mechanicum are more like techno barbarians. They are roided up, tons of drugs, combat stimulants pumped into their bodies. Huge. You'd actually think that with the servo arms and stuff like that, that they had taken a page out of the Orcs books for upgrading technology. Just
Wait, new conspiracy theory.
Oh my god.
Dark Scutari are orc prime orcs.
Oh god.
So they have those. There's also the Forge of Souls.
Are you done with?
Are you
all
done
this
with
guitar?
Traitor Scutari?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I couldn't find much either.
Yeah. Well, they don't have a codex, so literally all we know is that they're Traitor Scutari. But
But it is good to know that there's less of a uniform.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I did not know that. Yeah.
There are some in one of the in the duology Scutari and Tech Priest books.
Okay.
Where it's again, these guys are big. You kind of almost think that they're more like Ogren in terms of how much they're like juicing them up and throwing augmentics and bionics into them.
Interesting.
So, it'd be really cool to see what those would look like on the table.
Yeah.
I don't see them being nearly as horde as you might expect for the normal Scutari.
Yeah,
they're
feel
more like an elite.
Yeah, I feel like each one too would like customize themselves. So yeah, where regular Scutari do not do. But yeah, okay, cool. They exist. They're a thing. They're out there. Google them. Google image them. Check them out. Just wasted somebody's time. There's not on Google image. Okay, the Forge of Souls. It's a massive workshop located in the wastes of the warp. This forge is outside the power of any of the chaos gods.
Yeah, it doesn't exist in any area of land under any control of a god. So it's described as like it's constantly shifting its environment.
Well,
because
it is in the warp.
Yeah, but
So,
a
the
god,
warp
like a chaos
is-
god, will exert its power over an area of the immaterium and create something, and then you will live in it. And unless the god wishes it to change, it will stay the same. Whereas this thing, in like the formless wastes, can constantly shift and change its appearance or even where it is, I think.
Yeah, I thought of it like a Rubik's Cube that actually
we go.
continues to build new pieces on top
Maybe,
of itself. So I just pictured this very grid-like shape that keeps building new towers and spires, and some will come down and some will change shapes. So That's me.
So Rubik's Cube glued to Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, yeah.
To Rubik's Cubes.
Yeah.
But
My God.
yeah, the good
Rubik's cubed.
There's 9 of them.
That's
but then you get 9 of those and you put those together, and then you get 9 of those and put them. Okay. But probably the main takeaway from this is that it is outside of any Chaos God's influence, and that's a very important thing to note because we'll get to that later. But the Forge, Forge of Souls, is worked by warpsmiths, and these are space marines that seek to control and subjugate technology. So the tech marines of chaos.
Yeah.
These were one of the very first Chaos models that I remember seeing.
Oh yeah.
I was introduced to 40K back with orcs, and
it's a great
and
model too.
So seeing it's got the little mouths on the end of it's Dr. Octopus mechadendrites, and I was like, cool, a Dark Mechanicus, and it's Space Marine. I was just like, God damn it, We'll get there eventually, but they look cool. But yeah, they're the dark equivalent to a Tech Marine.
Yeah. Though these warpsmiths are capable technicians and siege masters, their true ability lies in creating fearsome demon engines used in the armies of chaos. We've hinted about possession and stuff many times, but demon engines are different than having
the soul of a demon somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. They're
This is a physical manifestation.
Yeah.
Another reason that this Forge of Souls is so important is because this is the only place in the entire galaxy where you can create these demon engines.
yeah, which is wild.
Which was surprising
Yeah.
to me to find out. It's
Yeah.
just a single place.
Yeah.
I think of it kind of as the new Mars, really, what they
Maybe.
want it to be, because Mars has the Ring of Iron where all their spaceships are made. You can
Yeah.
have these singular things in the large galaxy where
Yeah.
you make the biggest, baddest weapons.
Yeah.
So having that equivalent in the Eye of Terror, it's of course there's going to be
Yeah.
a promised land for the Dark Mechanicum to go do their most unholy relics.
Yeah, and when you say Forge of Souls, it doesn't give it that scope, but it definitely has that scope where it's planet size.
Yeah.
Like a planet size workshop. So demon engines, let's talk about them a little bit.
Okay. So the Forge serves to create demonic weapons using a fusion of machinery and demons. And the way this comes about is that high-ranked demons will duel for the chance to become a soul grinder, on the plains, right next to the Forge of Souls.
Yeah.
So it's an honor as
Yeah.
a demon to be placed inside these constructs.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that, and it's because demons want to stay in the material universe, and the only way to do that permanently is to be attached to the material universe, to a metal body. So, because even possession isn't permanent.
Eventually, your shell will run out of its energy, and it'll burst.
Yeah, so they will battle for there's been battles for 10,000 years to get into these soul grinders and these other demon engines. But there are a couple oaths that any demon going into a demon machine must take.
Which is really cool.
Let's make Jordan read these oaths.
I don't have it up because I'm not on the internet.
Is that connected to the notes? Here, hold on. I am going to reach
I can
through.
take your tablet if you want.
Yes.
He doesn't like him
This is a
touching his
lot
dark
of
technology.
This is a lot of work for hopefully an amazing payoff.
Oh, I'm very excited.
Read it in your best demon voice.
Wait, where am I reading?
As he's looking for it, Mark, we'll stall for time.
So today,
Yeah,
He's
what
got
did
it.
you do today?
Nope, don't want to hear it. He's got it.
I should start at A.
Yes, that's the first oath that a demon takes.
Okay. And I have to use a demon voice?
Or
make the voice that can make your mother the least proud of you.
I think that's just my normal voice. Okay. All the souls harvested by the great blades of the soul grinder will be used for the fueling of the forge.
Yes, I knew I chose the right guy.
Okay, the next one. All the wrecked remains of all war machines destroyed by the adamantium claws of the soul grinder will be offered to the forge.
Sweet.
Should any of the Chaos Gods attack the Forge of Souls and try to rule it, the Soul Grinder must discard all of their previous loyalties and fight in its defense.
Perfect. Love it.
It's like the 3 laws of
A demon
Robotics?
going in.
yeah.
3 laws of robotics. So all souls harvested go back to fueling the forge. The forge literally runs on souls, hence the name. But
Who would have thought? Oh my
just in
God.
case, just in case,
I thought it was double A's.
just in case no one picked that up.
I was going
know
for 9
there-
volts.
Right.
I was thinking clean eco green energy.
Tornadoes
Yes.
from the tornado
This
fist.
is the Chaos Farmer is a demon. It's like a corn bloodletter just raking fields made of human
Ethanol.
skulls. So that's the Forge of Souls. Now,
There's a couple things we want to
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about in the Forge of Souls, because let's talk some hypotheticals here. Eric knows how much I like hypotheticals.
Get
No, I don't want to.
hypothetical.
Nope.
Come on, Eric, don't be like that.
All right, fine. Mark and I had a conversation last night that I'm not proud of.
I'm proud of it.
No,
It's
you-
always
you shouldn't be.
enjoyable to break a man's spirit.
You did not break my spirit. I gave up on your tiny brain. I
Because
gave
I wanted to save it for this, Eric.
false.
True.
Okay, anyways.
What was the
I was
debate?
I was discussing with Mark the power of demons and where like inherently they come from, and a lot of it was so the idea here is if Nurgle or Khorne, if Khorne decides to attack the Forge of Souls because he wants to control this valuable resource, a Khorne soul grinder, Khornate soul grinder, has to come back and defend it and fight Khorne. Now, can Khorne just just deny that demon his power, or does the demon's power exist outside of Khorne's power? Because we all know that like these beings like leak their power out to bring life to demons. So that was my question was like, could he just accept that demon back into his life? Like, can your own power hurt you? Right? Like, or is it yours to control always and forever?
I think the big thing is like since these demons take like this specific oath, it overrides it. But normally, yeah, I think you're definitely right. Like a demon, if Khorne wants that power back, he can reabsorb it. But like there's these with the soul grinders, there's this overpowering oath where he can't do it.
But that's a crazy ability to override and deny the power of a chaos god.
Well, the oath doesn't necessarily guarantee the energy wouldn't be stripped. So if you are a Khorne demon in a soul grinder, and let's say the Forge of Souls is under attack, and you're like, oh shoot, it's from my deity,
Khorne.
and you go, well, I need to fight against it. This kind of sucks. If you don't fight against it, chances are you're going to get blown up very quickly by the other people inside the Forge of Souls for being a traitorous entity. If you do fight against it, what will happen is Khorne could, I would imagine, pull that energy back. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I don't know if it is.
You kind of made it sound like you have a choice in it, but when I was, as with most things chaos, like I don't think that these are just oaths that they say.
No,
like I think
like
these are
ritual-
burned
yeah, like,
into their
exactly.
body.
Okay.
To
Yeah.
and that's kind of how I view all chaos things. Like when you're doing like
it's like some dark ritual.
yeah, when you're
like-
doing the rituals of ascension to like become possessed by a demon, you're not just like reciting things. You're doing things that are damning.
Well, you're
you
making a
and-
pact.
But well, exactly, and that's what this is.
Yeah, demons
right?
making pacts.
Right, yeah. And so do you like I don't know if I could picture a soul grinder opting out of this. I truly
No.
think like they
No,
are
no, they can't.
compelled on like dark powers because there is power that exists in the warp outside of the ruinous powers.
Yeah.
Right? There's just warp power that's flowing and that people have like beings have been tapping into forever.
Yeah. Alternative theory.
Yeah.
What if like this oath is just like a scare tactic? Don't come over here, Khorne. Everyone will fight you.
It could be.
Maybe that even.
Well, it's kind of the same way that you think of the characters who have earned the power of chaos undivided. You know, Abaddon. Actually, the Dark Mechanicum is widely depicted as chaos undivided.
Yeah.
Well, which okay, sure, keep going.
So the idea that you have these areas where it's chaos will leave a wider circle around humanity in the warp to do these things, I like because it gives a little bit more autonomy to say that they're going to fight each other anyway. So the gods don't need to necessarily get involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like how you said that Dark Mechanicum is undivided, and makes it sound like the Dark Mechanicum has earned the favor of the gods, but I think it could even be reversed. The gods understand, like Nurgle understands that his forces need a way to be replenished and armed, and so he's like, I have to give my blessing to the Dark Mechanicum, because if I don't and I say that they're our enemy, none of my forces will work.
Yeah, it's even like in this Soul Grinder thing. These demons are fighting for the honor of being placed in this grinder. Like, the Dark Mechanicum has its place, like you're saying. Like, they are fighting for the privilege of doing it. The Dark Mechanicum, just like the Mechanicum, has something to offer, for sure, absolutely. So, we're good, I think, on that. It's fun.
I could actually would want to bring up something I was thinking about last night.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Before
we got a couple more
this,
things for sure. Go through it.
So with Dark Mechanicum and the Chaos Gods is that yes, the Dark Mechanicum are typically depicted as undivided, but if they were,
I like butts.
But if they were to fall in line with a different Chaos God, which one do you think would be the most appropriate?
If the Dark Mechanicum had to align itself to one specific one,
Change.
yeah, I'd say that too.
Now, is that because of knowledge and the revealing of universe's secrets? Like, what is your?
Yeah.
Do you have additional rationale for that? Because I was thinking there's actually a good reason for each one.
Sure, I'm sure you could come up with a good reason, but I think the best reason would be change. But tell us your good reasons. Let's see if you can sway me and my Dark Mechanicum brother into joining, let's say, Slaanesh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Slaanesh. So the idea of if we're talking about the Dark Mechanicum following the pursuit of knowledge, similar to the Mechanicus, and saying we are going to arrive at this holy divine state, that's perfection. That is the pursuit of an idealized form, the idea that you can make your body perfect by replacing all of the weak flesh with mechanics, or by learning what the universe has to reach a sense of completion. So it might not be knowledge in the idea that Tzeentch is that, but the idea of mechanical purity, or the ability to pass the Crux Mechanicus and finally transcend your human body might make it appealing for Slaanesh.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
Is it on that point?
I got a counterpoint, yeah.
Okay, do your counterpoint. I got a different point.
Okay. With humans, there's a very clear understanding of what we can and cannot achieve, right? Like, I don't want to say it. Like, okay, let's just say a human will never fly in their own ability. It's impossible. Okay. So, you could never aspire to fly. It's an impossible dream. But as a member of the Dark Mechanicum, through the use of technology and anything added on plus warp, is there such thing as perfection? I
think you can, even if there isn't a true perfection, I think that you can idealize perfection and say, I think it's possible. That's both a fallacy, the idea of, the Icarus rings, I will fly too close. Like, even if it's not really possible, you could gather that energy from Slaanesh because you think it is, because you can transcend those normal human weak failings.
Okay. I mean, I guess I could see how they would do it, but for me it doesn't sit. But
Mark?
Yeah.
So when I think of Slaanesh, I don't think of perfection. I think of excess. Obviously, perfection is part of Slaanesh, but what is more excessive than Jordan and his 10 robot dicks that he wants? Few things are. So I could see that Jordan falling to Slaanesh if he was a Dark Mechanicus.
Put it this way too. How many of us have a tattoo?
I think all three of you guys do.
So here's the thing: when you get a tattoo, almost preternaturally you start thinking of getting more tattoos.
I have one booked for February.
Do you?
Yeah.
What are you getting?
Triforce.
Yes.
So here's the thing.
Oh, Jordan. Laugh more.
I imagine it would be the same for bionics. I imagine it'd be the same for bionics.
But it probably doesn't feel as pleasurable getting bionics as it does.
It does.
Well, for Jordan maybe, and his 10 dicks, but
here's the thing: you get pumped full of stimulants and drugs to make things feel pleasurable. That again is that excess of Slaanesh. You get a mechanical hand, well, then you get the mechanical arm, and then that excess. I actually think for me, Slaanesh is just as high a tier as Tzeentch, but in a different way. Tzeentch is more of that ideological, the pursuit of knowledge, and Slaanesh is like, I need to overcome this body.
Yeah, one is of the mind. It's like the question, would you rather? One is of the mind and one is of the body, for sure.
Now, Khorne and Nurgle are a little bit more difficult. Khorne is hard. The rationale that I had for that was neural programming on Skitarii gets effectively overridden, and they're just making them rage-fueled machines. That's really the only component that I can think of, or the machine spirits that are just poked and prodded, and those AI systems or those machine spirits that are driven into hatred and war, that you could see maybe not so much the characters, but you could see the tools and the utilities, or those who are more into that cold, passionless war and destruction.
Yeah,
going
because
down that
there
road.
are cults. What are those? They're a 30K model on Forge World. You made a conversion of one using a Centurion. What are those guys called?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about? And they're literally like designed for war.
yes.
So those guys I could easily see fall into corn.
Yeah, the Myrmidons, and the Ordo Reductor are effectively, I'm here for war.
Yeah.
So that pursuit of perfection in war,
Yeah.
perfection. But and then the other one would be Nurgle, fleshy parts get sick. You know, it's kind of hard because whether you are a Dark Mechanicum who is involved in like flesh shaping, or whether you want to go more bionic, there are benefits to be taken from Nurgle. And maybe you don't follow any of these 4 Chaos Gods. Maybe you follow the false Omnissiah who is entombed on Mars. Or maybe you actually follow a dark reflection of the Omnissiah. Because the Omnissiah still exists as a idea. The idea of this god of knowledge.
Okay.
The idea that can still be a machine spirit. The Omnissiah ideal came from before the Imperium was even formed.
Yeah.
So even though they've left Mars, they could still have a different sense of like, well, the Omnissiah is not the Emperor.
Yeah.
The Omnissiah is just the Omnissiah.
It's Jake.
Yeah. You know, around the corner.
You know Jake. Great guy. Always tinkering.
Great guy.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So that was just some thoughts on the Chaos Demons. We could kind of go back to the sort of people who did turn and fall to Chaos. The transformation, the most notable one, is Kelbor Hal.
Yeah.
Who, if we are getting a Dark Mechanicum model line, he's effectively your Primarch, your Belisarius Call.
Yeah,
he is your
would
leader.
be a big bad.
And
for
there is
sure.
no doubt in my mind this guy is still kicking.
Yeah. There's no way who would stop him. Who would kill him?
Yeah, who would have the balls to do it?
Yeah.
And also
Who would have the ability?
Who would have the ability? Yeah.
Yeah. Especially since he most likely is just hanging out in the Eye of Terror.
Yep, and augmented himself to a high degree. One of the things that I know that you guys will be covering in a future episode is going to be other characters of the Dark Mechanicum. But the one thing that I really would like to see from Kelbor Hal is another difference, not just in ideology between Mechanicus and Mechanicum, is also physically. When you look at the model range for Tech Priest, Belisarius Call, there's a new Tech Priest who was just announced.
Yeah.
The Mechanicus of Mars will typically look like cockroaches or caterpillars. They will take these long insect frames with chitinous pieces along their back.
Yeah.
When you look at the Dark Mechanicum, their silhouette is completely different. Their forms, instead of these more, we'll say, passive insects, hard to kill passive insects, what they will do is they will become things like scorpions,
Praying mantis.
spiders, praying mantis. So this biomimicry of things that we see in our real world of scary creatures, some that are more like that's weird and kind of strange, we kind of attribute those to the traits of the Mechanicus. They're weird, they're religious, they've got these insectoid bodies. I don't know what's under the robe, they're kind of eccentric.
Don't look either.
Whereas the Dark Mechanicum is a lot more eager to say, I will
Look at
stand
what I've
up,
done.
look what I've done to my body. And it's very showy, it's very performative, but they've got all of these claws and weapons that come out that look like hostile insects from our world.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never thought about that comparison.
I kind of I didn't take it to the extreme that you did, but on like my shelf armies, I haven't done my Dark Mechanicus, but I've been gathering bits and gathering themes. But what I did with my Mechanicus is I put hoods on all of them. Like they're that secretive. Like all the Rangers are wearing the hoods. But then my idea for my Mechanicus was give them all the helmets. Because like, yeah, it's more in the open. Yeah.
Just something to look at if we're talking about model ranges and what to expect. Because
if you're listening, Games Workshop.
Yeah. Both of them have squirmy mechadendrites and tentacles and things hanging off.
And they have to be mechanical.
Yeah. But it's that biomimicry that's like, what does the heart of this army look like? Is it this strange weird thing, or is it a hostile mechanical human hybrid that is coming for you?
No, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. I guess one member we could talk about today and leave the rest to, to later.
If you got a couple favorite few, talk about them. But
okay, Kelbor Hall. We've talked about the major manipulator. When we're talking about these insect frames, Anacharis Ascoria has the scorpion body.
Okay,
he is the. And I think Eric might have had Forge rolled up on his tablet a moment ago.
Yeah.
He is the recent Dark Mechanicum model that came out, who looks frightening. He's got his body's kind of propelled up. He's a much better looking than the Scorpion King, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
How dare you?
I'm sorry, it's got to be said.
Man's a legend.
Man is a national treasure.
But you've got other characters who. We haven't seen a lot of the art for them. They will typically wear more skulls because, hey, chaos. Spikes and skulls. But their bodies start to take on these different, more hostile, bug-like frames. Yeah. There's another Dracovac who I argue is kind of that praying mantis frame, but can talk about them at another time.
Did that guy have a model?
He does. He's on top of a kind of a floating palatine sort of device.
Okay, yes, I know that model.
Got this long extended head.
I'm trying to find the Dark Mechanicum one. What's it under?
Scoria. Yeah, he created the first Hellforge.
Scoria.
But is it in like the Mechanicum army?
Mm-hmm.
Is he? And he's an HQ?
Is it a 30K or a 40K depending on
30K?
Is he 30K?
Yeah. If there were rules for him in 40K, I could guarantee you'd be seeing him on the table.
You'd have him.
In 30K, he is the enforcer of the Dark Mechanicum. He is a bruiser. Huge front claws. The back of his body has turned into scorpion legs. He's got a prehensile sort of tail coming up with like las cannons coming off the side of it. Different poison systems if he even gets close to you. But there are just as many Dark Mechanicum characters as there are Mechanicus characters I like. The other thing I like about these armies is there are also some, not just like crazy scientists.
Yeah.
But it's like, these are warlords, guys that will go out and mess you up. There's also a fair amount of like scary female characters in the Dark Mechanicum who've started to show up in the recent books in the Horus Heresy line.
Okay.
Definitely want to take more time to talk about them later because they are cool.
Yeah, we'll get you on for sure for them.
But no, there's quite a few. But if you were interested in reading more about the Dark Mechanicum, some books that you'd want to check out, obviously the Horus Heresy series and the book Mechanicum. I think it's the fourth in the Horus Heresy series.
It's good.
It's very good. You get Titan Legions playing chicken with each other.
Yeah.
You've got the openings
the
of
Emperor
Morvac.
healing knights kneecaps.
Lame.
It was lame. It was a lame night. And then the Emperor came along and healed it.
I love you, Mark. Thank you for saving that. You've also got the duology Scutarius and Tech Priest, which are a pair of books where the Adeptus Mechanicus are going to fight the Dark Mechanicum, and so you get a lot more of their sort of way of playing dirty. Also with that sort of predictive technology, hacking system, scrap code.
Okay.
You've got a Dark Adept in the Night Lords trilogy, a Dark Mech Forge World in the Grey Knights Omnibus. There's a Graham McNeil story called Dead Sky, Black Sun. Graham McNeil also likes playing with the boundaries of AdMech and Dark Mechanicus because there is a character in his Lord of War, Lords of Mars, series, who is a former tech priest who may also be the amalgamation of 4 different tech priest brains in one body. When they describe the figure's body and you recognize that this is a spider body, these are your red flags of the difference between AdMech and Dark Mech. Is like, oh wow, it looks like a hostile tech priest, like a bad insect. Well, we kind of need its help, so let's go along with working with it for a while. And then you've also got Clade by Rob Sanders, where a Dark Mech warlord is being chased. Or is he? And you get demon engines out of that, luring people in. I love them. They're.
Have you read those books?
I have. Yes.
Okay.
I still think Mechanicum is one of the best.
I feel like Mechanicum, you can read it without knowing too much about anything.
It's very great for an introductory beginner level, which is, I know, the purpose of this is to really help people get into 40K.
Yeah.
It's a great introduction. Scutarius and Tech Priest are kind of what you'd expect more of those Space Marine novels, where it's like, bolter porn, you're running around, you're shooting stuff. That can be really cool.
This.
Okay, well,
you speak of.
radiation does work. There's
Never
buildings.
seen that porno before, but
No,
okay.
but
The radiation does work. Well, the pool cleaner's name is Radiation.
Oh, and he does.
So he does work. If you know what I
He
mean.
lays some pipe.
Well,
piping
only when he needs to for the pool. You know.
Graham McNeil and his Lords of Mars series. Some people like it, some people don't. There is some Deus Ex Machina at the end of the first book that really left kind of a sour taste in my mouth where I'm like, come on. But if you try to get through, there's some great tidbits and world building in the rest of them. Plus, you also get to see an arc ship get warped by going through gravity wells and get ripped apart.
That's
it's,
awesome.
It's pretty cool.
That's pretty big.
So there's some great tech in there. Also, the differentiation between machine spirits and AI, which I love that they keep leaving that vague. Blackstone Fortress. They've got that short story with the AI.
The new robot?
The new robot who is a autonomous AI robot.
But he disguises himself.
Wears a mustache.
Do you have that model?
I have kit bashed a character that will serve as that. But
Okay, yeah, because I know we were talking. You wanted one in your kill team or
yes.
whatever. But
Unless you've got one under the desk here as a late Christmas present.
I do have one. If you want them, I can give them to you.
You hear that, listeners?
To be
This
fair,
is the sound of me hugging Mark.
to
Hold
be-
on, I'm coming over.
I think out of any human in the world, other than for my father, he's the man who's hugged me the most. And I've only known him a few months. my father, I mean. No, to be fair, it is Christian's model, but he just bought Blackstone. And I know he's giving me the Crute, or at least I think he is.
That's great. Well, he is now when he hears this podcast.
Yeah,
so-
well, he
It's
can't-
canon.
Yeah, it's canon.
He
So
can.
I'm sure he might be willing to pass that off to you too.
I'll
Well,
have,
what's he gonna do with it?
That's the thing,
Right?
Like,
I'll have a chat with him.
I think
You could probably take every single model out of that and be like, Christian, someone else will use it before you do.
From what he was saying, he bought that because he really liked the Chaos Space Marines and the Renegade Militia.
Yeah.
It was his primary reasons for. Because he's a fucking insane human. I fucking love it, man. Like, one day he sends me a picture and it's like literally like $400 box sets or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh man, that's sweet. That's a lot of Warhammer. Then 2 days later, he comes over and like he starts opening the box. I'm thinking, oh sweet, I'll get to see those boxes. And it's 4 completely different $100 box
my
sets. It's
God.
like, dude.
Wild.
So
He's a
good.
wild man.
Colin, carry on. You were doing some rambling, I'm sure.
No, I was just kind of thinking again of like other creepy insects and what the model line would look like, and truthfully, because it's how would I want this to be represented on the tabletop? How would I want this different? What I'm really liking that they've done since Vigilus is making AdMech more of that iterative repair, like that. It's not Necron where it goes down and gets back up, where you have to have some strategic sacrificing of units to repair others.
Yeah.
I
and
would
you're
like to
talking about that stratagem specifically.
Yeah,
that
with
you-
servitors
yeah.
and stuff. I would love to see
Sure,
that continue
absolutely.
with Mechanicus. For Dark Mechanicum, I would actually like to see things where there might be a wounding, like self-wound to do these other components. So
Okay.
you've got a demon strapped in a heretic version of a dune crawler, but maybe whenever it fires its gun, you can effectively overcharge it,
yeah.
and do these different things, but always at the cost of a mortal wound, or
Okay.
some sort of way to represent that they've made a dark pact.
It's a pact, yeah.
Yeah, and
it's a give take.
They're doing this damage. Try to differentiate it. The problem is,
Cool.
how do you do it without just making it scarier looking versions of Mechanicus?
Yeah,
So-
that would be the worst if it's literally they come out with the model range and it's like spikes and skulls, enjoy.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
okay.
Like when I'm trying to think of like the Dark Mechanicum, we were talking about how like the overall population of the Dark Mechanicum has to be much less than the Mechanicus.
Yes.
Much less. They just have less of a presence in the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And so what if you were to play the Dark Mechanicum as like an elite army where you need soup in order to make it, in order to like fill it out, like you play it like a Custodes army, where like you could play a Custodes army if you wanted, but it's much more effective when you run them with IG or something else. So same with these guys, you
Soup
run
and
them.
Sammy, man's always better than soup or Sammy.
Wait, of course.
Well, I see it larger than Rogue Trader or Kill Team, but smaller than full 40k. Because I can't envision right now, because a lot of their machines that they've made have found their ways into the Traitor Legions or the Heretic Astartes.
Yeah.
Helldrakes. Like,
It already is soup just without going to multiple codexes.
with those specific keywords. So what do you want to look like? I would love to see if AdMech is definitely more of that ranged esoteric weaponry, repairing things, struggling on. Lean in. lean into the crab Mechanicus. Give these guys these bruisers, like put them in your face. The 30k Mechanicum line has Thalax, has Ursarax, has these different alternatives to the Astartes where it's just humans who have been cybernetically enhanced. Give us these bruisers, because you think of Mechanicus, you think evil scientists, you think of like tweaking. Have
even more evil in the Dark Mechanicum.
Have the dark version of their Ordo Reductors show up, their Myrmidons. Have these guys who have 4 Volkite cannons strapped onto their back and they just wade through people.
Yeah.
There's that model that came out a little while ago of like a human like stretched up and like a harp was like stuck into his back. So I like to think like a Dark Mechanicum would do that, but just mechanically. Like they have like a human and they've created a weapon out of his body or something. Yep. So like not only is it mechanical, but it's also gruesome.
Yeah.
Whereas like the AdMech isn't really gruesome. It can be in some small aspects, but it's much more clean.
Well, it's in the lore more than on the tabletop and the models. The Vanguard are irradiated by their guns. They are dying as they walk in. The Doomcrawler actually devours its pilots because of the amount of radiation hit.
But you don't see the disgustingness.
You don't see a giant maw of teeth chomping down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, feed me more people.
And so to see like some of that gross, unholy combination of flesh and machines in a much like more disgusting way. Yeah. So that's kind of what I would like to see. But.
So to bring things back full circle, would you rather be a tech priest in the Dark Mechanicum or a tech priest in the Adeptus Mechanicus?
If tech priest is in Warpsmith?
Tech priest as in tech priest. A Dominus. More senior
I see. Not a tech marine. Like a human.
Yeah. On one hand, you have that flexibility to experiment more. You don't have dogmatic ideals or restrictions holding you back. On the other, you have a lot more safety.
Yeah, there's a level of caution that those dogmas bring, where when you serve the Dark Mechanicum, the safety is stripped away at the same time that is the ceiling.
They don't have a Wemyss warning.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have a like don't touch electrocution sign anywhere.
In fact, all the chemicals are on the table, and you're encouraged to mix however you see fit. I'm gonna go dark.
Colin?
I do like my order. I do like the Mechanicus.
Yeah. Yeah, I would side with you on that.
So there's 2 of us to 1. We take Mars back.
Yeah.
Well, Jordan, are you going to the Dark Mechanicum, or are you sticking to the lie that is the Adeptus Mechanicus?
Definitely the Dark Mechanicum.
That's a tie. So listeners have to write in and tell us, comment on the Facebook page. Would you go dark? Or you...
Once you go dark, you can never go back,
well,
right?
Arguably so. It's hard to get all the extra mouths off your body.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. But if you went to a... No, never mind, actually. Okay.
That's been fun. I like that. That breakdown. That was great.
Yeah, that was good. I got one more tiny detail.
Okay.
Are you ready? Are you nervous?
Nope.
You're super nervous.
Not really. I'm pretty relaxed right now.
He looks quite comfortable.
I'm not very puckered, as they say.
Let's talk just for the briefest of moments about heretics. Hereteke.
Okay.
Heretics. They are often mistaken as Dark Mechanicus, but they're not. They are loyalists to the Mechanicum.
Can be.
They can be loyalists?
They can be dark.
Oh yes, they can be, but normally they are not. Normally they are closer to the Mechanicum than they are to the Dark Mechanicus.
They're closer to the Adeptus Mechanicus, yes, than they are to the Dark Mechanicum.
Yeah.
The distinction gets weird.
It gets a little weird
when you go look at if you go read the Wikia page about the Dark Mechanicum, that will confuse you a lot because it is probably a full half of that page is devoted to heretic.
Yeah.
And to me, that's very incorrect.
Notoriously wrong. Yeah. So I just want to say that. So if somebody does go read the Wikipedia and they're like, oh, why didn't they mention heretics?
Yeah,
that
because
seems so obvious.
They talk about a lot. But they also ascribe the word heretic to way more things than it should be. Like a Dark Mechanicum leader, they say it's a heretic, but that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
All heretics are not Dark Mechanicum, but Dark Mechanicums are all heretics.
Right.
I actually think that a better example would be don't read wikis, read the actual source material.
Well, of course,
but
yeah.
Between the 40k books and the Fantasy Flight game RPG, there's a series of books in their Dark Heresy called the Lath Worlds, which are all about heretics who still work for the Mechanicus.
Yeah.
That is a great thing if you can find those books. They should be cheap now. The game's been discontinued. People are kind of offloading them. Great stuff in there about how you can still be a loyalist, but a bit of a renegade. Belisarius Call that's
the biggest distinction. Is that it's more of a renegade, less of a chaos worshiper. They even have, I think they're called Negavolt Custis or Megavolt.
Those are the dark.
Not necessarily though. Like you can be a Megavolt cultist on an Admech world, and like you exist and you live. You're not part of the Dark Mechanicum. You've just abandoned maybe some tenets of the cult Mechanicus, and you're still there, and you're not serving a chaos god even.
I'll need to double check that, because the difference between the Corpuscari and the Fulgurate priest sects are who are you getting energy and you're storing it, or should the energy of the Omnissiah be freely disseminated throughout the universe? On the tabletop, that's do I shoot you with lightning or do I beat you with lightning?
Yeah. You know? But yeah,
that's all I want.
The Heretics is something that could confuse a lot of people if they're trying to do their own research, because you'll get two very different views on them from Lexicanum to Wikia.
Yeah.
It's also easy to ostracize a Mechanicus member and call them a Dark Mechanicum if they do something outside of the highly structured,
like
Belisarius Call. And I think that's where a lot of people are having problems with the way that the new lore has developed. Is like, but he's not following this regressive backwards. He's too free thinking. I'm like, let's be fair. He's been working on one product for 10,000 years. That's not innovative. He is locked in the past. And the other problem with that is that he's been doing the same thing. He didn't stop because no one told him to stop. That is the definition of the cult Mechanicus. You will do the one thing. You will be locked in, and you won't change until someone tells you to.
And if he had done this, and the Primarchs had all been there like for the past 10,000 years, when he finally presented this to Reboot, he would not have been a heretic.
It would have been a completely different.
Exactly, it would have been completely acceptable because it's all under the purview of what's acceptable within the Imperium. So,
anywho, that's a rabbit hole to go down.
Another time. Another episode.
Like, I'm one word away from going off fucking Primaris rant.
Let's not.
Somebody just needs to say Primaris.
Knights!
Knights!
We brought him back from the depths of despair.
It's been great.
Anyways, thanks for joining us, Colin.
No problem.
Good,
always a pleasure.
Look forward to more chat about tech priests and dark and good and all that stuff. So
the next Mechanicum themed episode, Eric freaks out, but we already wrote this down.
We did, yeah.
Things
can change.
Oh, sure, but what is somebody
going to do? Don't make promises.
It's not promises. It's just words, man.
Do it.
All of this is just words. The next one's going to be on Skitarii. So,
woo!
Yeah, they're very exciting, and they're relatively new in the lore. Well, not really in the lore, but on the tabletop for sure. Yeah, it's interesting. So we'll get you on for that for sure.
Fantastic.
Hopefully some other ones as well.
Oh, they'll be great.
Yeah, are you a one-trick pony, Colin, or you want to be on some other stuff too?
He's been on other stuff.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Well, he's a Death Watch guy.
I'm just kidding. They're just words.
Eric. They're just words.
Sorry, I just overclocked Mark again. Let me just change his aggression inhibitors here. Turn it back. It'd be great to do more stuff. And also for anyone listening who wants to get more Lorehammer, do check us out on Facebook. Instagram. I know you guys had a huge milestone at the beginning of this year.
Yes.
For anyone who doesn't follow our social media, can you just mention what happened?
Well, I finally learned to read.
That was a pretty big milestone for us, I guess. Yeah. No, we hit 100,000 downloads.
Wow. I remember when we first started, I'm like, we got 100 downloads. Like, I'm going to text the boys.
Yeah, no, seriously. It's something that probably never thought it was ever going to happen.
No, when we were originally talking about our expectations, I'm like, if we had 100 people listening, I think that would be worth it to me. When we're well over 100
at this point. Yeah. No, it's been
thousands.
It's been kind of surprising to see the
people like my flappy mouth.
Oh my god, they don't know you in real life.
Very active. If you're sending a message on Facebook, Mark is just waiting for his phone to buzz to chat.
But not to just bang on Mark this whole time, but I do bang on him.
What are you talking about?
But after we released the Tau RPG, we have had, I think, 3 people message Mark and ask him, is that really the way Eric is? Is he that much of an asshole all the time? And the answer is yes. I am not a nice person by any means. You have to
force yourself to be nice. But thankfully, you're self-aware.
But yeah,
every now and again, if you're grumpy,
it's not a good time.
Grumpy,
sure, why not? A cunt and grumpy, why not? I am I don't know how to say this. But
I love it. We love it.
It was fun to see those messages pop up because I know they're going to him, right? Because he's the one who's talking with most people. But it's just funny to see, man, Eric, this can't be fun. It's not.
A lot of great response to the Tower RPG. You see it on Facebook. You see it on the Instagram as well. And
lots of messages too.
A lot of picked up in the last little bit. So I hope to see you guys more often here and more great things. And everyone, if you're listening, do check them out on social media.
Let's give one more little quick thing. Support our Patreon. We're trying to buy a computer. Please send us some money. Every buck counts.
I guess, yeah. Here's our little plug.
No, seriously, send us some money because I don't want to have to pay out of pocket for a computer.
We're on a deadline to buy a computer.
Yeah, because Jordan's leaving.
Because our Jordan is growing up.
Send him out into the wild.
Yeah, well, it's time for him to leave the nest. Flap his wings.
Flappy flap my wings.
So yeah, honestly, we're gonna. The podcast isn't gonna start. We can buy a computer. It's just we don't want to have to pay out of pocket and then have Lorehammer eventually pay us back.
Yeah,
Jordan has been instrumental in this entire.
Honestly, we tried to make it work because Mark's like, I have a laptop. We can do this.
I have a laptop and a mouse.
It cannot. It was.
Bad.
Our last episode we tried to record took us 3 times to try and make it work. It was an eye-opener is what it was.
Yeah, no, we appreciate everything Jordan does, and he's still going to be doing our editing, and hopefully when you come back to Canada, you'll be hopping back on with us. So
sure. Fucking better be, you dumb little bitch.
Do you know...
he's the one that will reel us into. See, right now we're all rambling, where Jordan will eventually, just hit end.
Yeah, he'll just stop recording and be like, guys, I stopped recording 20 minutes ago.
We've got you for another episode or 2 or a few.
Maybe one more.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. We gotta do something. Don't know what it is.
No, don't be nice.
Don't flap your gums at him.
Yeah.
Promises he
exactly.
Can't keep.
Well, I just don't have to be on the next episode. You guys have to carry through with it.
Damn it. He's got us.
Bring me Timbits.
Those are the words.
Low barrier to entry. Let's take it.
Yeah, no kidding. That's what it's required? Done. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed.
Send me your money.
And we'll see you on the next episode.
Peace.